Hello. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it just me?
No. Well, just you right now.
Oh.
Just check in with the others. Let's see. Were you able to get into the up coach?
What?
Were you able to get into up coach?
I think like to do what?
Well, that's where all the material is. I'm going to show
Oh,
you.
yeah, yeah,
I'm going
yeah.
to show you
I
what.
think I printed. I need to go grab them. They're probably still in the printer. I only printed part of the workbook so far. Is that enough?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you don't
Okay.
even have to print it. You can just download it if you wanted to. That's up to you.
I don't know. I would rather have a hard copy. I don't,
Yeah, I know. Some people do. That's fine. Some people
my
like
brain
hard
does not.
copies.
Yeah, let me go. Should I grab it? Are we going to use
Yeah,
it?
I mean,
I'll go
I
grab
mean,
it real quick.
yeah. Go ahead, grab it. Oh,
I
oh,
figured
there
it
you
out.
are.
Yeah, I figured it out. Oh, you know what? I have this new laptop for work and it does not let me do camera on Zoom.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take it back to IT and figure out why.
It doesn't give you the permission?
No, we normally use Teams.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
always forget because I use it so infrequently. But when I click it, it just says unable to detect a camera. Make sure that your camera is powered on and is connected to your computer. But there is a uh, camera in the computer, so I don't totally understand that.
Hmm.
See if I can mess with it.
I have
Is
the
it
checklist and part of the workbook. That's what I have.
I have the checklist, the workbook, and the ICF stuff.
Okay. So again, you can print them out or you can just put them into a folder. We're going to look at everything together anyway. But I know some people need it, a physical thing. There's 14 chapters. There's the workbook. Now the workbook is for your assignments. That is a fillable PDF. So you could just save it to your computer and then fill it out on there. If you print it out and
Oh,
handwrite it, then you have to scan it back in to submit it,
oh,
just so you're aware.
Okay.
Either way is fine, but up to
but
you.
this is the only homework for the whole thing that we do.
That in the book.
What's the book?
Yeah, we'll go over it. There's a book.
Girl, you're scaring me. You said it's not a lot of homework.
It's not a lot. It's not a lot. You'll see.
Is it the three of us?
I'm waiting for, there should be another person
Okay.
tonight, and then, but we're not going to wait much longer. It's 7:05 now. Um, Yeah, and then I had two people transfer to the next one. So if you're first starting out, these things happen with the scheduling, just to let you know. I appreciate everybody that signs up, but I'm trying to be a little bit more accommodating as well. So hopefully that um Linda will join us. I'm trying to see if I didn't get any messages, so I don't think she's having any problems. Okay. So I'm glad you both know me, so that makes it a whole lot easier. And you both have seen me teach and kind of know my style, so that's good as well. So welcome to Coaching with Emotional Intelligence. This is a level 1 ICF program, and this is going to give you more than enough CCEs to renew, as well as your 10 hours of mentoring. You both are renewing, so that's good. And so is Linda. So the three of you are renewals, so we're going to be all on the same track going through the program.
Marcy, are you renewing for ACC or PCC?
I think ACC. I'm looking at Cheryl like she should know what I am. I'm the first level.
Yeah,
You
me
can't
Yes,
even tell I'm looking
ACC.
at her with the blank stare.
Yeah, this whole jargon, my brain doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know
and
the
it's really-
language. Yeah,
ACC is associate certified coach. PCC is professional certified coach, and MCC is master certified coach. Those are the 3 levels for ICF.
yeah.
So the level 1 program, what that means is that it's all inclusive. You do everything at the school level. The only thing you have to go to the ICF website for is to go in and renew. And I think it's $175, but I'll look for the exact amount when we go through it. But so what you do there is you finish this course, you get your certificate, you go over to the level 1, or you go over to the ICF website, you go for a renewal for your ACC, you enter the number of hours that you get right off your certificate, and then you enter my name and your 10 mentor hours and pay the money, and you renewed. There's nothing else you have to do on the ICF side. And just so you know, I am running a pilot for the PCC. Once that is completed, since you guys took the level 1 now, you can then take a level 2 PCC program, which again, everything's done at the school level. So you do your recordings and your final performance evaluation, which is you coaching. You do that at the school level, so you don't have to submit recordings and wait for the ICF for 4 months to review and all that kind of stuff.
So we
the-
just send the video to you.
You do it. It's during the course. During the level 2 course, we have what's called a final performance
Oh.
evaluation. So you do it. You submit it to me and the other instructors, and we evaluate it. You get a final score. That's done at the end of the course, and then all you do is go to the ICF website. You upload your level 2 certificate. You put your mentoring hours and the total number of hours for the level 2 program, and then you take a written exam there too, because to go from ACC to PCC you have to take a written exam.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how level 2 works when you guys are
But
ready
that's in
for
a different
PCC.
class, right?
That's a different class. That would be an additional class that you'd have to take that gives you the extra hours and gives you the everything done at the school level.
Okay, and then to be right, if we want the PCC from this class, we have to do the profile way where we send it in. Is that correct?
Portfolio.
Yeah, portfolio profile. I almost got it right.
What's the benefit of being a PCC?
What?
It depends. She asked what the benefit of being a PCC was. The benefit basically is like for me, PCC, because I work with people in corporate, sometimes that's where the PCC really comes in. And then also, I work with other coaches, obviously. So those coaches want to see me. Actually, they want to see me at an MCC level. And I did submit for my MCC, but I failed one of the recordings. So I'll be resubmitting. It's a tough thing to pass. So, but for me, it's that, right? Some people it's that their company requires it. Executive coaches definitely need to be PCC credentialed. And if you're if you're doing contract work with corporations, or if you're internal coaches, they're all moving, if they're not already there, they're moving towards requiring an ICF PCC. Because they don't want the beginning coach, because, you know, an ACC level is just 100 hours of coaching. The exam for an ACC now, there's a new exam, is that you're just really have to know what the core competencies and ethics are. Where when you go to a PCC, then you get situations where you have to choose what's best and what's not best. So it's just, you know, it's more involved, it's more in depth. And then there's also 2 sets of requirements. ACC level is very basic, your ACC minimum requirements, which we're going to go over. And then you have the PCC markers, which is what the PCC level is, you know, graded and analyzed at. So, you know, it just depends. Definitely
is it-
executive coaching.
When you get to the MCC, do they make you do it again every 3 years? Everybody?
You renew. You just renew 40 hours and you renew. Everybody needs the CCEs. It's a professional.
No,
you
I
know,
mean, but like the mentoring and the,
no,
like
you
if-
don't need mentoring at an MCC level. You just need the 40 hours of CCEs
okay.
and
And
and renew.
PCC, same thing?
PCC, same thing. You don't need mentoring hours. You just need 40 hours of CCEs. I will say that PCC people usually get mentoring though in that
Yeah.
40 hours. Like they usually get it in combination with that 40 hours because once you're at that level, you want to continue to grow.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so-
yeah, it's not, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I get it.
So, but it's not required
Okay.
by the ICF for the mentor hours.
But
Only-
once you take the PCC test, you have to keep taking it every 3 years?
no test, just your
That's-
40 CCEs.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Marcy.
I
What were
don't
you
have
gonna say?
anything. I'm just,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
thinking.
Okay. Okay. So that's the kind of the basics for and then PCC, you need 500 coaching hours documented. MCC, you need 2,500 hours documented.
Along with the coursework.
Along with your coursework. Yep. So, and again, MCC is a level 3 program. PCC is a level 2. ACC is a level 1. Much easier to go through the level courses, accredited courses, because everything's done at the school level except for the finals, the written exams. Because again, if you do it any other way through them, then you have to submit your recordings. Like for PCC, you submit your 2 recordings, and you wait at least 4 months, and 3 people assess your recording, and they send those results to a 4th person, and that 4th person decides if you passed or not. And then you get moved to taking the written exam. So it's much easier to do it at the school level. Your instructors, and I'm the assessor here, so I do the assessing first party, first level, for both the programs, and then I have backup people that I usually give it to do a second, just to check mine, just because I like to do that. So it's quick though. It takes about a week and a half. So like you submit your final, and then a week and a half later, if you've passed or not.
But if you don't pass, you just redo it.
Yeah, because the way I work it in is I work in the 3 one-on-ones throughout the whole program. So when you submit the second one, which is the final, if you don't pass there, you have a 3rd one to do live. And then if you don't pass that, yeah, you could keep going.
Okay.
It doesn't matter at this, because we're doing it here at the school level. You get charged if you have to do it more, for the assessment time. But other than that, it's this, you can do it
Okay.
whenever.
So what are can you run through the requirements for the PCC, or how many hours of mentoring? Or
So
how many
PCC,
hours of
you need-
coaching? Sorry.
that's okay. So PCC, you need a total of 125 hours of instruction. So we'll start there. And if you want to do a level 2 program, because there's different ways to apply. If you want to do a level 2 program, you have to come from a level 1. So you're going to have that with this. You can go to any level 2 program from this program.
Okay.
So you need the 125 hours, which you have from a level 1, and then the level 2. And then you need 500 coaching hours. So coaching clients, 500 hours.
And is that the same as you did for for the current level? Like you can do work and things like that. You just need someone to sign off on it.
Yeah, same thing. And then you need 10 hours of mentor coaching, but that level 2 program is going to cover that 10 hours of mentor coaching. That's what it's an all inclusive. So that's why it makes it the easier path.
And how long is the level 2 course?
It depends on whose you go through. Mine is 50 hours, 50 hours, I think. And so we still have to do it over a 3-month period because of the ICF, but the 3 months starts right away on my PCC level. It doesn't on the ACC level, but it does on the PCC level. So it's like 14 weeks, basically.
When is your next level 2?
I'm doing the pilot first in February, so the next one won't be until probably September. I won't do it during the summer.
So then could you do that? So how does that work with recertification? So if you're going from one level to another, do you have to recertify first and then go to the next level?
No, you mean restart your hours?
No, like, because you're going up a level. If you
Oh,
go,
it's an add-on. So, so the level 2 is an add-on. It gives you an additional 50 hours. So you're not starting over. You're coming from a level 1 and you're getting those additional 50 hours. Is that what you mean?
yeah, so like if I recertify in the spring and then I decide to move to level 2, does that coursework count towards my recertification too?
Yeah, absolutely. It counts, you can count it either way. You can count it as your renewal. Well, you can count it 2 ways. You can count it as your renewal when you do that in the spring, right? And then when you go to do a level 2, that gets added, those hours, the level 1 gets added to the level 2.
Got it.
So it's that's why it's called a level 2 add-on. You're adding it on to what you already have for your level 1.
Got it. I think it's way more
Yeah.
confusing than all my other certifications, which is so funny.
It can be confusing. I don't know how you would make it simpler, but I think it's getting more simple with these levels versus how it used to be without these levels, because it used to get really confusing when you could do like an ACSTH school, you could do an ACTP school. Like there was all these different
What school
acronyms.
did I do with you?
ACSTH, both of you did through WCI. It was
ACSTH.
STH, which is no longer a thing.
Why?
They got rid of it.
WCI is gone?
No, well, that's a different story. ACSTH is gone. So no school is an ACSTH school anymore. They had to move to a level 1 or CCEs. Now that's even a little bit more confusing. So a school could just offer CCEs, right? So say they have, so for renewals, for instance, a lot of schools most schools will do 20-hour CCE classes. So you have to take 2. So that way they're getting paid more and it's easier on them. They can do quicker courses, 20 hours here, 20 hours there. And they don't have to worry about being level 1, level 2, level 3, or whatever. You just take those CCEs and you apply them to whatever level whatever credential you want to apply for. But if it's not from a level 1, 2, or 3 program, then you have to use the portfolio path. So what they did was they said, no more ACSTH. We don't want to do any, we don't want people to be bringing in all these different ways to get their credential. So now it's, you do your level 1, 2, or 3, or you do CCEs to help towards those levels. If you already took an ACSTH and you're coming, then you either retake a level 1, or I shouldn't say retake a level 1, you take a level 1 to include all that and get another certification out of it. Or you can use the portfolio path, which means you get your 10 mentor hours and you get whatever you're missing in training hours, and you do that longer process through the ICF, and it's more expensive as well. So that's what they decided. In about 10 years, it'll all work itself out and just the levels will be here because there'll be nobody else left to really do it any other way. Hopefully.
So that was a
And
confusing
then
way to start the day. No, I'm just
I'm
kidding.
sorry. I'm
No.
sorry.
It's just it's so funny. I have so many certifications and for some reason this one just baffles me.
Yeah.
What certifications do you have? Like for coaching?
Well, no, I work in HR, so I have my SHRM, I have my HRCI, I have my
Okay.
World at Work CCP. And then in my personal life, right, I have my yoga certification, and they have the different levels with hours and training, but that seems pretty
Yeah.
more black and white. And then I have my group fitness certification, but all of those seem to be a little more black and white to me for some reason.
Maybe just because you've known it longer or you're more involved in it than like,
Do you have to
you know,
renew your group fitness certification every?
Yeah, and you have to do CEUs. And to your like, but there are requirements, like you have to have two of yours, you always have to have your CPR done. And that normally counts as two. And then you have to do at least one training through the organization, because that's how they get their money, right? So they always want you to have one paid through them. And then, but you have to have 15 total, but you can do them through other groups, but then you have to pay like $25 for them to decide that it's worthy. But that one I have had for a while. The yoga one's pretty easy. They just pretty much, I don't know, maybe this is just my first round, and so it makes it more confusing, because the other ones I've
Yeah,
had
'cause-
for at least, although CCP is newer to me, but it runs pretty close to SHRM.
yeah. Well, they're not cumulative, right? That's the thing, I think, because ICF is cumulative. The SHRMs are pretty
Yeah,
straightforward.
they start over. It's like you have to have so many for every recertification timeframe.
Yeah. So, I mean, ICF allows you to, I mean, ICF is accumulative and they allow you to do different paths, which they're trying to, with doing these levels, they're now trying to wean that out. Weed that
I'll
out.
figure it out at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
me
and
too.
anyway, as long as you have a mentor coach, i.e. me, you don't need to worry about it.
But that's what I always do. I just call you. I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Where are you, Marcy? Where do you live?
Florida,
Okay.
where are
Yeah,
you?
well, so let's do that. Why don't you guys introduce
Ohio.
yourselves?
I'm in Ohio.
Oh,
Not too far from me. Go ahead, introduce yourselves. What do you do? Where are you at? What's your, what's your focus in your coaching? Go ahead, Avery, you start.
So I coach kids, teens, and adults all over in the UK, Australia, US. What's closest to my heart is social anxiety and selective mutism, with a heavy, like I use a lot of emotional intelligence and mindfulness and mindset and understanding where anxiety shows up in the body, how we feel it, how to navigate and how to push through it. And a lot with self-confidence and self-worth and really navigating through fear. So it's not just only people with social anxiety. That's just something that's super close to my heart. And then I also just got certified as a public speaker. So I'm wanting to really get into that. I'm learning. I'm learning. I did the course. I have my certificate. I'm waiting for opportunities, more and more, like, on a big stage. I would love to do a TEDx. That's on my radar. And I do emotional intelligence, like trainings for teens and adults, like different ones, like a specific one for teens and then a specific one for adults. And that's it. That's what I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marcy. Go ahead.
yeah. So I actually have switched jobs, Cheryl, since I've seen you last, I think. So I am the CHRO for Goodwill Central Florida.
Oh,
I've been in the role since April, and I started into coaching. Funny enough, coaching is kind of like my early retirement strategy, if you will, like to be able to continue to stay active and engaged, even maybe a little, and then retire a little bit earlier, and do more of the fun HR stuff versus all of the other stuff I have to do. And so I did my coaching certificate. Funny enough, my boss resigned in one of my jobs, and I quickly signed up for WCI. And I was blessed enough to have Cheryl as one of my two facilitators. I don't even know what happened to the other facilitator I had.
who was it?
can't remember her name. She was super nice, but I feel like she was more on the I feel like she was more geared on the personal coaching side than the professional coaching side.
Hmm.
Kathy? Was it Kathy? I had Kathy.
No, I don't think it was Kathy.
Anyways,
Anyway,
I had a very interesting, I would say it was a very interesting experience, that big group setting and on the phone. Yeah, it was very fascinating. I just remember we had a woman in the group she was an Uber driver for the Amish people. That's what she told us. And I'm like, that doesn't totally make sense to me, but okay. It was just one of those things she said a few times. And I'm like, has anybody thought that that doesn't totally make sense? But, and so through that, I honestly, right, like I felt like I took that class to go through the motions. And then I learned a ton about asking impactful questions and helping people guide to their own answers. And so I use it a lot more than I thought I would going into it, if that makes any sense. I felt like I was just getting the certificate because I needed it and I needed the class more than I needed the certificate maybe in the end. And so, yeah, so I have just used it in my day-to-day from that standpoint.
yeah. I think a lot of people realize that, like, they go in thinking, well, whatever, I need this certification, or, it's going to help me, start my own business or whatever. And then they realize you use it a lot.
Mhm.
You use it a lot. Um,
Yeah, even selling it, one of the things was, right, like I'm new in my job or nonprofit. So I mean, I asked my boss to pay for it and I gave him a few reasons why I think it applies to my job. And he's like, okay, we'll pay for that.
that's great. And I am looking up your class. You had 13 in your class, so you had a really big class. Oh, and Irene was in your class. And Julie. Oh wow. Okay. So I'm still connected with Julie and Irene and Kyle, and just looking at you, and um yeah, I think that's it. So
No, it was a big class for you.
it was a big class. Normally, well, 12 is the limit, and for some reason we had 13 in that. um but normally it was around 10. Anyway, but I can't figure out who your other instructor was. This was just sent to me, so I was trying to see. So 1920. So when is yours due for renewal, Marcy?
Mine's not due until next year.
Okay, good. And then yours is, what did we figure out yours
A
was?
lie.
Well, we found the real date. When was
Yeah.
it? It was
July, right?
it was July, was it? Are you sure? Okay. No, that's
No, I'm
fine.
not sure, but that's what I remember. I'm
Okay.
gonna look
No,
on
that's
my
good. This is a good time frame then for you, because then it'll be done. You'll have like a month to be able to get everything together and just do your renewal.
What
Okay.
happens if I submit my renewal earlier than I need to, or do I need to hold it until?
It changes your renewal date, so I
Oh,
mean, there's
okay.
nothing wrong with it, but then why make it so that you have
Yeah.
to do it earlier,
Okay. That's what
kind of
I was,
thing.
because some of them don't care. They keep your renewal even, yeah.
I mean, maybe you could potentially ask that, but most people don't ask, and so they just do it, and it just pushes them back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, and you guys know me, so I've been coaching for 16 years now, and I've been teaching for 15. And I left WCI January of last year, and created my own school, which is the SCE Coaching Academy, which is Successful Coaches Enterprise. Didn't get real creative on the name, and created my level 1 program last February, and creating the level 2 program this February. So, and then I have 2 CCEs that I'm going to apply for in June. So, hoping to, of course, grow my school. And so I appreciate feedback. And then also part of what you do in one of the forms that you fill out has a feedback form in there. So I do appreciate if you guys fill that out towards the end. And I'm going to share my screen now and just kind of go over UpCoach where everything is located so you can kind of get a feel for it. And then I can answer any questions. Let's see, where are you?
Oh, wait, mine expires 8/31.
Okay,
So that's August, right?
that's August. Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't think it was July. I thought we figured out it was
The
different date.
credential expires 8/31 and then
Okay.
my membership 3/31.
Okay. Yeah. So you're good. How do I get out of this thing? There we go.
Yeah, I didn't want to be racing because I'm always the one that's doing it the last minute and it's always
Well-
stressful.
That's me.
I totally appreciate that, just so you know, because that is like my life.
But not really. I
No.
just
I mean, she thought that she did it. She was doing
I thought
March
I was
or
doing
something,
January.
or January, and so it was a scramble at first, but it's not anymore. Now that we know she has until August. And I just knew the year. I didn't know what month it was, so she had to look
Yeah.
at her membership and figure that out. Okay. Anyway, so inside UpCoach, when you log in, you should see this. This is the program.
We
Do
see
you
your
see this?
email actually,
What? Okay, hang on.
or your chat. Yeah.
Let's try that again. Now my Zoom is like not. Can I change it now? You see it now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I don't know what that was about. Okay, so when you log in, you should see this. It has your cohort. And this here is the actual course. So when we're not ready yet, but when we go into that, you're going to see the course materials. But this is the program. All the recordings from our classes and our mentoring will show up here. So you can always come back and watch it. And down here has some announcements for you. So the required reading assignment is The Transformational Coach for Your Thinking and Breakthrough to Coaching Mastery by Claire Norman. They were running a 3-month promotion, so you can get the audiobook, but if you're like me, you want the written book, you can get it here. It's an affiliate link, just an FYI. And I gave you a recommended reading schedule, but you can read it however you want. It's a quick, easy book. Nothing, strenuous about reading it. And then the one thing that I suggest is that you download this visual that they have for the 83 mindset shifts. It's a pretty cool book and it's pretty cool mindset shifts that you're going to see, I think. And we do talk about it a little bit towards the end of the course, but basically it's in your assignment workbook at the end. It has where you just write one sentence for each chapter. So that's part of your assignments. And then here's your assignment workbook. Here's your assignment checklist. You just click those and download them. This is just the pictures of your schedule. And you can see, which it's upside down, but that's okay. You can see here we start on the 1st. Our group mentoring starts on February 3rd, which is just another class. We don't do anything outside of the class for the group part. And then you'll see there's some breaks. And that's because the course has to last a certain amount of time for the ICF. And so we just created some breaks to create some time. But during that time is also when you're doing your peer coaching. And your peer coaching, and since you're both renewing, you can count these peer coaches as paid hours on your logs. So helps you towards your next level, towards your PCC level. But you'll do your peer coaching, and then some of these are also your one-on-one mentoring weeks. So if you have peer coaching scheduled, you do the peer coaching with each other. There'll be two people that will be using that are not in this class that will help with peer coaching and will also help with in-class coaching. Just to, so you're not coaching each other the whole time. And with three people, it's odd. So it winds up being a little difficult to schedule you guys out. So you're not, again, coaching every session or every other session. So we have people that come in, they're kind of guests, and they will coach. We'll debrief their coaching sessions as a group, and then also you'll coach them. They get to count those hours for themselves when they coach you guys. And so that's the trade-off. They help me out in exchange for that. And then you'll see, there's some times where there's not mentoring. It's just that we don't have class that week, and you'll do some peer coaching there. And then you also get to take the EQI 2.0 assessment, which I'm certified in. And I give you, you get the report after you take it, but then we do a debrief session based on that report, and we come up with a little action plan for you to increase your EQ. So that debrief is done towards the end of the course, and then your final mentoring session is the week of, it actually has to be May 3rd or after, because it has to be exactly 3 months. And then, so we'll meet, May 3rd or after for your last one-on-one, and that's when your assignments are due. The assignments are due the day of our one-on-one, our final one-on-one. And that's your done at that point. When you do that last one-on-one, you're done. Of course, you pass, you get your certificate, you get your additional certification of EQCC, which is Emotional Intelligence Certified Coach. And that's basically how the program works. You can click on here and add it to your Google Drive. Just hit this and it'll ask you to add it to your Google Calendar, or it'll ask you to choose Google or Microsoft or whatever calendars, and you can choose that. And then this way it's just on your calendar. You can click through your calendar to get in here. When you have to schedule one-on-one mentoring sessions, which again, it tells you right in the schedule when to do that. You just use this link to schedule it. Okay. Questions about any of that so far?
To just get which ones it's not the peer one-on-ones, right? That we sign up for. I just want to make sure I know which ones. What
This one?
But where does it say on the calendar? It says peer
Oh.
coaching and one-on-one. So it's where it says one-on-one.
Yep. Wherever it says one-on-one, that's the week you just schedule at you use that calendar link and at your convenience schedule during that week.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think that's it. Any other questions about this part? Okay. All right. So, what we have here as well, mine's going to look a little different than yours. You should see only a certain amount of documents on here. This just because I'm the coordinator of the whole program, I see every cohort. And it doesn't allow me not to, so I can't put that out of review. But under the drive, you should see, how many documents do you see under your drive?
I think there was 9. I looked earlier.
Okay, yeah, 9 sounds right. So those are all the things that you need for the whole course. Well, as we go through each chapter, we'll tell you which ones you need for that particular class and chapter. But, it's all the things that we need, like the minimum skill requirements, the PCC markers, core competencies, all that stuff's in there. And then this is just another way, which I just found out actually is wrong. Like it says the 2nd and the 4th, but it's really the 3rd and the 5th. So that's confusing to me why it came up that way. So I'm going to fix it. But basically, if you don't put it onto your calendar and you want an easy way to join the call, you can just come right in here and just click on join call and it'll bring you right into us once the dates are right. So that's that. And then occasionally I will put a task in here. If if you have something to do, and that task will show up when you log in. It'll show up as a task. You'll do the task and you'll check it off as done. It'll say to do. You can do done. It'll tell you if it goes overdue based on the due date. Okay. So now we want to go into the course. So we're going to come back up here and we're going to just click on that button, and then you're going to click start for module 1. And the first thing was the welcome, which you don't have to worry about. And then we're going to go into chapter 1. So chapter 1 has introduction to coaching and the model framework that you're going to learn. And the model and framework has a separate document, the ICF core competencies as well. So these are the things that we're going to cover tonight. And then the homework, don't download these. These are already in the workbook. They're just here in case you want to look at it separate from each class, because each class has an assignment in the workbook. It's just for you visually. I wouldn't download these separately. Everything again is in that homework workbook. So don't worry about downloading this stuff. And then once we get through it, you'll just mark it as complete, and then you'll download the materials for the next class. So always download, your chapter and everything before the next class. Whether you print these things off or you keep them on your computer electronically is totally up to you. Your preference. I will share my screen whenever it makes sense to do so that you can see things, so that you don't have to pull them up onto your own screen while we're in a group setting. So, okay. And then that goes all the way through to the end of the course. Now, the last class is the exam date. And this is the exam that for us is that you actually pass a coaching session. So what you're going to do there is you can do it 2 ways. You can coach each other. We're going to meet here on the 15th class, right? And I'm going to say, okay, you're either going to coach each other or you would have set up a time to coach somebody else. That's up to you guys. You can have that discussion with each other during your peer coaching time before you get to the exam date. And again, it's personal preference. Just to give you an example, in the last cohort, there was, a couple people that really didn't feel like they were showcasing their skills with another coach, and so they wanted to use their client. Perfectly fine to do so. So you might find that, or you might find that it's easier for you to do it with another coach. So whatever you guys decide, I want to, as adults, want to leave that up to you. But whatever you decide, you have to have it decided and set up by the time you get to class 15. So when we meet on class 15, I'm like giving you all the instructions. I'm giving you things to look out for while you're taking that final performance evaluation, which means while you're doing that coaching session. And it's going to also be on the drive so that you'll see those, or the announcements. So you'll see those things spelled out as well. And then you're going to go off and do that. You're either going to go off and coach each other, or you're going to go off and coach a client. And I'm going to give you a link to a form, and then you're going to submit your recording with the password and a transcript with that form. I can also do your transcript for you. That's fine as well.
So if we coach each other, is that live or you still need the recording?
No, I need the recording because you're not going to do it in front of me.
Okay.
You're going to go do it. Okay. It works out better so that you're not, people get nervous doing it in front of the instructor or whatever. So you just go off, do a recording. If you're going to do each other, then you'll coach for a half hour, you'll switch, coach for a half hour. Both of you record your own sessions that you're coaching, and then you'll submit that. Both of you submit a form. That's how that works. And then that's the ICF requires us to do a formal exam. So that's the formal part where everything's already scheduled and figured out and we know what we're doing. And then you're submitting everything with a form.
And I'm guessing you give us more details as we get closer to that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, you'll know everything you need to do before we get to that, that date. Yeah. And in fact, I don't know if I put them in here, did I? I did. So the link for the forms in here, and again, there's instructions that will be on the announcement piece once we get closer. to it. So also during, as we look through these, the group mentoring, you're definitely coaching each other in the class. But the first few classes, we're actually going to be listening to recordings. So I have people that have passed at the ACC level and the PCC level, and we're going to listen to those, and then we're going to debrief them. And we're going to go through the recordings based on how we look at them as assessors, and that means how the ICF looks at them. By the way, anybody that is going to be doing your final assessments for this program or any other program, you want to make sure that they were trained as assessors, because that means that we're trained on what the ICF wants. And we have those certifications from the ICF. So just an FYI there, especially with your level 1 and level 2 programs. So I show you, I break it down, how it's scored, what we're looking for, what we're not looking for, things like that. You're going to know the core competencies, you're going to know the PCC markers and the ACC minimum requirements by the end of this course, inside and out. We feel like, or I feel like when I created this course, that I wanted to empower people that just go, oh, core competencies, oh, PCC markers, what are they? Like, half the time we don't know what they are. And so I wanted to make sure everybody was empowered and knew that. And I will just give you a little bit of information. So when we look at it in this course, we look at the PCC marker levels. We are training you to coach at a PCC marker level, so that when you are ready to move on, you're just getting more information in that level 2 program and fine tuning your coaching skills. You're not going to be learning from the beginning on how to do PCC coaching, right? So you're going to be pretty much prepared to move into that role. I found that empowered the coaches more, and actually every coach that has graduated this program felt the same way. And I've had 22 people graduate from it, and they're all ready for that next step, PCC, level 2, and they're not, they're just confident in it. They're not confused. They're not worried, and they know what it looks like, and they know what it feels like, and they're ready to just kind of jump into that. So that's where, I'm hoping that you see that my program is strong in doing that. It empowers you, and it gives you more knowledge to just move forward as a coach and with your competency. So we're going to be looking at PCC markers, and we're going to talk about how those PCC markers affect you as an ACC coach as well. So we're going to look at a whole bunch of things. So we're going to view a session video, and then we have a discussion, and then we for the first group mentoring, we're going to watch a video, and we're going to discuss it, and we're going to break down, we're going to do the feedback form that I use for you guys. We're going to do the feedback form for those videos. So again, you get to see exactly how everything kind of connects. Next class, we're just going to watch a video together. We won't really do we'll do a debrief, and we won't do the score sheet. I might show it to you, but we won't go into detail until we get that really good one from the group mentoring. Again, we have 5 videos, and I'm probably going to add 2 more that I just 2 more people that we just passed at the level 1. And again, these are just ways that you can see, how do we use these core competencies, with different personalities, different focuses, different niches. It's just to give us some more information, and I love hearing people coach, so hopefully you'll enjoy them as well.
Is it a video or just audio?
I mean, it's a video, but well, there's one that's just an audio, but the rest are videos. But I mean, I usually turn it off, but that's I don't like to see people's faces when I'm listening to the recording. I like to listen to what's going on. But that's usually because I'm assessing, so I don't know if that's different than somebody else listening to it. Okay, so any questions about in here so far?
Nope.
Okay, good. The other thing, what was the other thing I was going to ask? Oh, so, well, I was gonna ask it tonight, but I guess we have to, oh, I gotta stand up. Let's see. So, maybe we'll ask Wednesday, but I was gonna say, because it's a small class, we can be a little bit flexible as far as time. If you have a preferred time that everybody agrees on, we can change it. I'm pretty flexible. I'm just given that option because it's, it's a small class and, I don't mind doing that kind of stuff. So just kind of think about that. If there's, a better time that you guys prefer that, that everybody can agree on, we can move this. We can be pretty flexible. I just want to, help you guys, the best that I can. And, it doesn't matter to me what time we do the classes. So think about that as well. Okay.
When it's best for you, Marcy.
Probably now.
Okay.
But is there a time that's better for you?
Daytime.
Well, Marcy has the job, so that's probably
Yeah.
not gonna work, right? Yeah. I did have this class, and the night class was, some people like the 6 o'clock, so I was running it at 6 o'clock, 2 of them. But I don't know if that would work for you guys either. So, 6 or 7 is 6:37, any of those
Yeah.
times. Even 5:30, I don't know. I don't know your schedules, but, anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing this because I want to share something else. And yeah, I think it's because I'm on dual monitors that it does this. It must be. Mm. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna show you, so we have new core competencies since you both took your original classes. So we're actually gonna read through the competencies so you can see. We went from 11 to 8. Now there's not a whole lot of difference, but there's a little bit of difference between them. So I think we're gonna do that first, is I'm gonna pull up the core competency so you can kind of see those differences, and then I'll just actually just share my document so that you can see that. And I'll just read through them really quick. Okay, so again, we went from 11 core competencies to 8, and not a huge difference, but there are some differences. So the first one demonstrates ethical practice, understands and consistently applies coaching ethics and standards of coaching. So demonstrates personal integrity and honesty in interactions with clients, sponsors, and relevant stakeholders. Is sensitive to clients' identity, environment, experiences, values, and beliefs. Uses language appropriate and respectful to clients, sponsors, and relevant stakeholders. Abides by the ICF Code of Ethics and upholds the core values. Maintains confidentiality with client information per stakeholder agreements and pertinent laws. Maintains the distinction between coaching, consulting, psychotherapy, and other support professions, and refers clients to other support professionals as appropriate. Number 2 is new, embodies a coaching mindset, and the definition is develops and maintains a mindset that is open, curious, flexible, and client-centered. So acknowledges that clients are responsible for their own choices, engages in ongoing learning and development as a coach, develops an ongoing reflective practice to enhance one's coaching, remains aware of and open to the influence of context and culture on self and others, uses awareness of self and one's intuition to benefit clients, develops and maintains the ability to regulate one's emotions, mentally and emotionally prepares for sessions, seeks help from outside sources when necessary. So the ICF decided that they wanted to make sure that we took care of ourselves, because by taking care of ourselves, we're able to take care of our clients better. So that's basically what these, mentally and emotionally prepares, seeks help, develops and maintains the ability to regulate our own emotions. Emotional intelligence is going to help us with that. And then having a reflective practice, meaning that you go to a mentor coach, or a coach supervisor, and you bring a recording so I have a mentor coach that I see, at least yearly. And then when I'm up for renewal, I'll do a 10-hour, slot, but that one time a year, maybe 2 times that I do it, other time is when I'm, submitting a recording and I'm like, hey, tell me if I'm picking up any bad habits. Am I, if I have something where I'm unsure of how I handle the situation, or if I feel like I really led somebody because I want to always make sure that if I've done something that I go back and I correct it. So if I feel like I really led somebody to something and I'm not sure, I'll throw that recording to my mentor coach and I'll say, hey, give me your feedback on this. And I've had to, twice probably, I think, in my coaching career, go back to somebody and say, go back to a client and say, hey, 2 weeks ago we talked about this and I kind of gave you these thoughts or instructions or whatever. And I really that stepped outside of my coaching role. And so I want to kind of go back to that with you and make sure that these are things that you wanted to do, or like this was the decision that you wanted to make. And just help get really clear on that. Again, it's just a way for me to feel better and more confident when I'm moving forward and working with clients, especially new clients, that I'm not bringing in any habits or bringing in anything that I might have done in error, and that I'm making sure that I leave my clients whole that I have already worked with. So that's just something I use, that kind of goes with this embodies coaching mindset.
Was that not in
Okay.
the old ones? I feel like that was on my test.
No, there was something in the old ones that it was like little pieces spread out in some of the other ones, but there was
Okay.
not it by itself.
Okay, so it sounding familiar shouldn't be shocking.
No, yeah, it shouldn't be. I mean, yes, and acknowledging that clients are responsible for their own choices, that was definitely in, other competencies. Um, developing ongoing reflective practice, I think, was in 8 of the old ones. So yeah, it would just like some of these were in others, but they wanted it to be focused. They wanted you to have all these things kind of saying, hey, we need to take care of ourselves and we need to watch how we portray how we portray ourselves and how the influence that we have on others.
Sure.
And so this, we're going to talk about power dynamics in this course too. It's like, it's very easy for a coach unknowingly to create a power dynamic in a coaching relationship. And we don't want to do that. That's, consultants kind of have that power dynamic, right? They're the expert. They're the one that tells people what to do. We don't do that as coaches. So we want to make sure that we're not creating that power dynamic. And there's different ways that can happen. But anyway, one of the things to look at.
Yeah, I feel like in my first class, I feel like I noticed that there were some folks who were trying to transition from being a therapist into a coach.
Yeah,
And I felt like for some folks, I don't know, it seemed like that was hard to overcome because I feel like as a therapist, you can give your opinion more.
absolutely. And it's very hard. It's very hard from a consultant's point of view as well. Which, we had a lot of. So, they're used to being the answer person. They're used to being the person that everybody brings their questions to. And so you have to start how you transfer that is you have to start putting it back on the client. And so people aren't comfortable with that. You have to turn that question back on the client every single time to get them out of that habit of asking you. So, yeah, there's a there's a little bit of a finesse to it, and definitely getting used to it when you're coming from a therapeutic or a consultative background. Establish and maintains agreements, so partners with the client and relevant stakeholders to create clear agreements about the coaching relationship process, plans, and goals. establishes agreements for the overall coaching engagement as well as those for each coaching session. So explains what coaching is and is not, and describes the process to the client and relevant stakeholders. Reaches agreement about what is and is not appropriate in the relationship, what is and is not being offered, and the responsibilities of the client and the relevant stakeholders. Reaches agreement about the guidelines and the specific parameters of the coaching relationship, such as logistics, fees, scheduling, duration, termination, confidentiality, and inclusion of others. Partners with the client and relevant stakeholders to establish an overall coaching plan and goals. That's a little bit different. In the old core competencies, it always felt like establishing a coaching plan is directive and leading. But if at the beginning of your coaching relationship, you take what the client wants to work on and you then help them and you create a plan on how that's going to get covered in your time, that's perfectly fine to do. Keep that in mind. We go over that in one of the classes. Partners with the client to determine client coach capability. Partners with the client to identify or reconfirm what they want to accomplish in the session. Partners with the client to define what the client believes they need to address or resolve to achieve what they want to accomplish in the session. Partners with the client to define or reconfirm measures of success for what the client wants to accomplish in the coaching engagement or individual session. Partners with the client to manage the time and focus of the session. Continues coaching in the direction of the client's desired outcome unless the client indicates otherwise, and partners with the client to end the coaching relationship in a way that honors the experience. 4 is cultivates trust and safety. So partners with the client to create a safe, supportive environment that allows the client to share freely, maintains a relationship of mutual respect and trust. So seeks to understand the client within the context, which may include their identity, environment, experiences, values, and beliefs. Demonstrates respect for the client's identity, perceptions, style, and language, and adapts one's coaching to the client. Acknowledges and respects the client's unique talents, insights, and work in the coaching process. Shows support, empathy, and concern for the clients. Acknowledges and supports the client's expression of feelings, perceptions, concerns, beliefs, and suggestions. Demonstrates openness and transparency as a way to display vulnerability and build trust with the client. 5 is maintains presence, is fully conscious and present with the client, employing a style that is open, flexible, grounded, and confident. So remains focused, observant, empathetic, and responsive to the client. Demonstrates curiosity during the coaching process. Manages one's emotion to stay present with the client. Demonstrates confidence in working with strong client emotions during the coaching process. Is comfortable working in a space of not knowing. Creates or allows space for silence, pause, or reflection. Listens actively, focuses on what the client is and is not saying to fully understand what is being communicated in the context of the client system and to support client self-expression. So considers the client's context, identity, environment, experiences, values, and beliefs to enhance understanding of what the client is communicating, reflects or summarizes what the client communicated to ensure clarity and understanding, recognizes and inquires when there is more to what the client is communicating, notices, acknowledges, and explores the client's emotions, energy shifts, nonverbal cues, or other behaviors. Integrates the client's words, tone of voice, and body language to determine the full meaning of what is being communicated. Notices trends in the client's behaviors and emotions across sessions to discern themes and patterns. 7 is evokes awareness. So facilitates client insight and learning by using tools and techniques such as powerful questioning, silence, metaphor, or analogy. Considers client experience when deciding what might be most useful. Challenges the client as a way to evoke awareness of insight. Asks questions about the client, such as their way of thinking, values, needs, wants, and beliefs. Asks questions to help the client explore beyond their current thinking. Invites the client to share more about their experience in the moment. Notices what is working to enhance client progress. Adjusts the coaching approach in response to the client's needs. Helps the client identify factors that influence current and future patterns of behavior, thinking, or emotion. Invites the client to generate ideas about how they can move forward and what they are willing or able to do. Supports the client in reframing perspectives. Shares observations, insights, and feelings without attachment that have the potential to create new learning for the client. 8 is facilitates client growth. So partners with the client to transform learning and insight into action. Promotes client autonomy in the coaching process. works with the client to integrate new awareness, insight, or learning into their worldview and behaviors, partners with the client to design goals, actions, and accountability measures that integrate and expand new learning, acknowledges and supports client autonomy in the design of goals, actions, and methods of accountability, supports the client in identifying potential results or learning from identified action steps, invites the client to consider how to move forward, including resources, support, and potential barriers, partners with the client to summarize learning and insight within or between sessions, celebrates the client's progress and success, and partners with the client to close the session. So those are the new competencies. And what I want to do is actually show you, well, let's look at the first chapter real quick, and then we're going to look at a couple other things. So do you guys want me to share my screen for this, or I'm not going to be reading straight from it, but
Are we in
kinda
the
see it.
coaching emotional, are we in the workbook?
Yeah, we're looking at the first chapter. Yep. Not the workbook, the textbook. Here, the chapter 1.
Oh, then yeah, if you could do it on the screen, that's great.
Yeah. Okay, so this is chapter 1. And basically, this course is going to go through the process and principles of coaching, and it's aligned with the core competencies in the Code of Ethics. And it's centered around the philosophy of empowering change and growth using emotional intelligence. So some things that we talk through is ethical grounding, developing a coaching mindset, agreement structuring, trust, safety, and rapport building, presence enhancement, active listening and reflection, awareness generation, growth support, contextual understanding, and emotional intelligence. That's our framework. And some of this, again, I'm not going to cover everything. You guys know the difference between coaching, consulting, and therapy. Some things just to consider, the personal benefits of coaching help establish and act towards achieving goals, become self-reliant, increase self-confidence, develop self-awareness around strengths and motivation, gain more job and life satisfaction, take greater responsibility and accountability for actions and commitments, and communicate more effectively. And then the benefits of coaching in organizations. So it empowers individuals and encourages them to take responsibility, increases employee and staff engagement, improves individual performance, helps identify and develop high potential employees, helps identify both organizational and individual strengths and development opportunities, and helps to motivate and empower individuals to excel, and then demonstrates organizational commitment to human resource development. Okay, so we know that coaching is not focused on the past. It's not therapy, consulting, or mentoring. And then, who's coaching for? Anybody that's looking to improve, grow, or change aspects of their personal or professional life, gain clarity, establish and work towards goals, develop strategies for personal success, professional success. It's also for teams. So it's for an individual or groups that want to take action and that, are working towards those goals. Who is it not for? It's not for people that aren't open to self-exploration. It's not for those seeking that have psychological issues that are seeking, help for that. It's not for people that expected the coach to provide the answers or that aren't ready to take action, to move forward with what they, the awarenesses that they come across during the coaching. So this coaching skills that we are going to be, talking through and that we really want to focus on as coaches are looking at establishing ethical guidelines and professional standards, creating coaching agreements that are really clear and are beneficial for both the client and the coach, establishing trust and intimacy, coaching presence, active listening, powerful questioning, direct communication, creating awareness. You guys know this, designing actions, planning and goal setting, and managing progress and accountability. So these are the core coaching skills. And then those are the competencies that we went through, those first 8 there. So coaching model, you're going to learn SCE's coaching model. And so basically a coaching model is a framework that provides a loose structure where you're able to incorporate the coaching skills and the competencies to have a successful coaching session. It helps to navigate through the coaching process. The great thing about coaching models is that as we grow, we can start incorporating different coaching models into our own coaching. I take a course every year. So, 16 years I've probably taken, and maybe some years I've taken, more than one. I'd say I probably took around 20 full courses. And almost all of them had a different model. Now some of them are really similar, but what happens is you just get used to kind of incorporating these things, and you're able to, kind of make it your own as you coach. So you're going to learn a different model in this course than you were taught before. A model has to be flexible. It has to support the whole coaching process, not any one individual part of the coaching process. It's more like a compass or a guide. It has to adapt to your client's unique situation and goals. So that's also a benefit of having different models where you can kind of pull in what you've learned with different models that's going to be most beneficial for that particular client that you're working with. It supports that the client is the lead and it moves at a pace that's comfortable for them. It's a natural progression. Each step kind of builds on the previous one, and it's supportive. It empowers clients to direct their own journey. Any model that you use, you want to make sure it has these pieces to it. So our coaching standards were created by me, and they're designed to facilitate transformation and unlock potential from within. And these are the ones that I just kind of read up top. You can read through these a little bit more in depth. But basically, the ethical grounding, just being able to have ethical development and accountability, have that coaching mindset. So being able to have that personal growth and development, clear, agreements, having, building trust and rapport is really important, and safety as well, creating a safe environment for your clients. Being fully present, active listening, being able to reflect back, be able to help the client gain awareness and not just throwing questions to throw questions, but that those questions actually create some awareness, that we help them to grow, and that we kind of recognize and appreciate the client's unique backgrounds and environment, and that we develop and utilize emotional awareness for deeper client connection. And that includes empathy and adaptability to suit the client's emotional state and needs. Again, I'm not going to read through that part. So we have our model, which establishes a foundation. So we set the stage with clear agreements and ethical practices, and we build up a strong rapport. It encourages exploration. So it promotes deep questioning and reflection to uncover new insights. It drives action. So we support clients in translating those insights into concrete, actionable steps. And then it honors the client. We respect the client's uniqueness and honor it in all our interactions. And these are the 10 pieces of the model. And so we're going to go through each one. So the first one is setting the stage. The second piece is reviewing goals and progress. The third is structuring the agreement. 4 is engagement and exploration. 5 is active listening and reflection. 6 is awareness generation. 7 is challenging and encouraging. 8 is action planning. 9 is support client growth. And 10 is closing the session. So we took that model and we created this framework. And this is the framework you're going to use in this course. These are separate documents as well, so you can download those from the drive. The coaching framework has its own document, so just pull that off. And the model has its own, the model and the framework are together in one document. And then this is just an example of how to use that. So if we look at the framework, we have the setting the stage. So we're going to begin with a check-in to gauge the client's current state and readiness for the session. So thanks for being here today. These are all, by the way, suggestions. You use your own words. How are you feeling? Are you ready for our session today? Or, anything that you'd like to clear before we get started, something that checks in with them. Reiterate that the session is a safe place. So we want to remind you, as always, our coaching sessions take place in a judgment-free zone. Or during the session, and during the session, I might take notes. You don't have to do this part. This is if you have somebody that you really need to take notes for and you don't want them to feel like you're being distracted. I'm happy to share these notes with you at the end of the session if you like. Is that okay with you? Get that confirmation. Reviewing goals and progress. So you want to look at what they committed to last time. Now, you don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, right? This is just a brief check-in unless they had difficulty. So you want to look at, any progress or updates from the last session. So last session, we talked about yada, yada, and you were going to do yada, yada. How have you made out with that commitment since then? How have you celebrated your progress or what got in the way of, completing that? How can we remove that and accomplish the commitment? So it's just to check in to make sure that they've, that they were able to accomplish it. This is for ongoing clients. Of course, it's not going to be used for one-off sessions or you're, in here. Unless you're carrying over a topic and you want to do that, that's fine as well. Structuring the agreement, we use open-ended questions to explore the topic. So what would you like to focus on in today's session? Or what would be most helpful to explore today? What's important for us to work on in today's session? What would you like to think about today? And then determine what the client would like to achieve in the session and how it will be measured. So what specifically would you like to walk away with it at the end of the session? How will you know we've achieved this? So it's two questions there, right? We want to know what the end result is that they want, and we want to know how they're going to know. We want them to know that measurement piece. You can do things as go a little step further and say, now that we've explored whatever that topic is, what specifically would you like to walk away with at the end of the session? How will you know this session has been successful? Or what will make you feel this time has been well spent? These are ways to come up with measurements as well. Get the client to think about measurements. Apply active listening and reflective techniques to deepen understanding. So what I hear you saying is that you would like to yada yada. At the end of the session, you would like to have yada yada and just get that confirmation. Is that correct? Do I have that right? And then you want to take it a little bit further. And we're going a little bit deeper here. We're saying, okay, so once you have that, what will that mean for you? Or what will that goal, or what will achieving that goal mean for you? How will you feel when you have that? How is this important to you now? What will change for you when you have accomplished this goal? What purpose do you want to achieve this? These are ways to get people to be more committed to the outcome and the goal, and then, of course, to take action afterwards. So we want to help them to really get clear on their whys without asking why. And so that's where we want to, ask those questions. And then we want to allow the client to lead the discussion. So we're not going to lead this discussion. We have the agreement. We've asked the client how it's important or what's important about it. We have the measurement. We have all this in place. And now we want the client to lead. We don't want to have to say, well, what have you tried so far? Because that might not be what they want to talk about. We don't want to say, what roadblocks have you had in the past? We don't want to focus in on the past. We want the client to decide where we start. And when we look at a topic and an outcome, like we see a line, right? Like I'll say, 12 inches, you look at a ruler, right? We see these 12 inches and we can start anywhere on that 12 inches. But we really want the client to decide where to start. So we just ask them straight out, very simple. Where would you like to start? And let them choose. They might start, at the 1st inch. They might start at the 10th inch, whatever. Just allowing them to decide where they'd like to start the conversation. And then as you're having the conversation, explore the current situation. So what specifically about this challenge or situation is a problem for you right now? This is after they've decided the direction to go into. So what about that direction? Do we need to ask these questions? If there's not a challenge, obviously you're not going to ask that question. What have you learned from trying to solve this so far? Again, instead of doing kind of reflection, things that seem like it's like a reflex, like, what have you tried so far? What have you learned by trying to solve this? Or what have you learned by trying to accomplish this? So that they're bringing in their learning, and then that helps you to ask deeper questions for them to move forward. And then engaging in current realities. How is this impacting you right now? What's different about this from others where you were successful? Just getting the client to have some awareness around what's getting them stuck here. Active listening and reflection. So we want to challenge any limiting beliefs or assumptions that we might hear. So what belief do you hold that might be stopping you from moving forward? What is making you think that is true? Encouraging the client to consider alternative perspectives or solutions. So what would really help you to look at the situation differently? And then awareness generation. So facilitate the discovery of new insights and perspectives. What new insights have you gained about the situation? What else might be going on? Challenge any limiting beliefs. What might be another explanation or perspective on this issue? Challenging and encouraging. So pushing the client to go beyond their comfort zone, but not doing it in a way that we're dishonoring them or making them or being the director, right? The leader. But we want to help them to not just stay in this little single lane, to a little bit outside the lane. So what's one step that you can take that feels a bit outside your comfort zone? It's a really simple, direct question. What's going to be different this time? If you have a client that's been doing something the same way over and over, they're not getting a different outcome, which is the description of insanity. How can we get them to see that and look at something different? Provide support and encouragement to build their confidence. So how can I support you as you take on this new challenge? Action planning. So you want to collaboratively develop action steps that the client can take. So what specific action will you commit to before our next session? What is the next or some others that you can take? Ensure that the actions are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So SMART goals fit perfectly with coaching goals. When do you want to have them completed by? How will you measure your progress on these actions? And then support client growth by or helping them to achieve their personal and professional goals by helping them to overcome any obstacles. So what obstacles do you think could get in the way of you accomplishing this action plan, or how can you plan to overcome them? And then support them to achieve results by helping them to build an accountability. Who or what would support you in accomplishing this? We want to get away from, as coaching is evolving, we want to get away from the question of like, how will you hold yourself accountable or who will hold you accountable, right? Because that's a little directive. When we say who will hold you accountable, we're saying, well, we want you to choose somebody to hold you accountable. Or when we say, how will you hold yourself accountable? We're saying, I want you to hold yourself accountable. How are you going to do that? So when we say who or what would support you, that's giving them the option of, well, do I need a person or is there something I can put into place myself? The other thing to consider is at the beginning of your coaching engagement, when you first sign a client, you can have a conversation then. It can be part of your, your agreement, your overall coaching agreement, where you talk about how do you like to be held accountable? Maybe they'll say, well, I have, 2 or 3 people that I like to rely on. Great. Then you know that this question, when you get to it, is going to be who out of the 3 people, your accountability team would you like to employ for this? If they're a person that says to you from the beginning, I'm always going to hold myself accountable, then at this point you would say something like, okay, how are you going to hold yourself accountable for today's actions? But with bar having that in place, how do you do that? You say who or what would support you. And then you want to close the session. So you want to have the client summarize the key session points and commitments that they've come up with. So we're not going to be reflecting that back to them. We're going to ask them to reflect it back to us. Now, if they don't know it, or if they haven't written it down, or if they say, you know what, I'd feel better if you kind of, so I could hear it all together, that's fine as well. In our session today, you wanted to, you wanted to walk away with yada, yada. And then what have you committed to today? Again, if they want it, this is what you committed to. But we really want to give that back to them and empower them to remember what they committed to and reflect that back to you. So that might be, again, something that you talk about in the coaching agreement from the beginning, your overall coaching agreement, where you say, as we go along in our sessions, how will you take notes, or how will you keep track of your goals, or, have that conversation in the beginning. So you kind of have a feel for how your client's going to work. And you might have clients that work in different ways. Some people might say, you know what, I'm really terrible at taking notes. Maybe you could record the session and send me the recording and I could listen to it again. Okay, great. So that's how we know that there's going to be some accountability there, right? Or some note taking. Maybe they use, AI note, whatever, or maybe they, again, take physical notes, whatever it's going to be. It's a good thing to have that conversation in the beginning to have a feel for it. But if not, then you have, this to kind of fall back on. You want to partner with the client to close the session. This is a big thing that the ICF has been focusing in on now for about 2 years. And they're just going to keep doing it. And that's basically where we are going to check in with the client and partner with them to close it. We don't want to choose how to close that session. So we want to look at how much progress have they made towards they want to accomplish. Just throw that question out there. So how much progress have we made? And you might even do this as a mid-check too, halfway through the conversation. Where are we right now, as far as in relation to the outcome that you want? How much progress have we made? Right. So we can check in during the session, and then towards the end, how much progress have you made towards what you wanted to accomplish? And hopefully it's like, oh, good, we made it. We're there. And we always want to check in what they've learned about themselves, because that's a big part of everything we do. What have they learned about themselves or the situation? And then we want to ask them, and I know this is uncomfortable. I had one class where almost everybody in the class was uncomfortable asking this, but then they started doing it and they felt really great about how the clients responded. So, how would you like to close our session today? This puts it again, makes the client lead, right? Because the whole thing about coaching is that it's client led. So how would you like to close our session today? Another way you could do it is say, what else would you like to explore about whatever the outcome is before we close? Or you could ask a close-ended question here too. You could say, is there anything else that you'd like to explore before we close? But these are great questions. Like, how would you like to close out our session today? How are you feeling about the progress we've made? What was your biggest takeaway? What does it mean to you knowing whatever XYZ it is that they came up with? Things along those lines that will help the client to choose how that session is closed out. Other things you can do optionally, you can say, what feedback do you have about today's session? What can we potentially improve on for next time? This is something that I actually suggest you do every once in a while with a client, because it checks in to make sure that they're enjoying these sessions, that they're getting things out of it that they want to get out of it. And that if there is something that they feel, they can be improved, that they bring that up and that you're having a discussion on that, right? It's just a way to reflect, have reflection on our own skills and areas that might need improvement. So that is the chapter. And basically, there's the coaching. Again, it's in here, but it's also in your assignment workbook. But the personal coaching vision is like, reflect on your why. Take a moment, write down what's drawn you into coaching. Why have you stayed in coaching? What's keeping you going? What resonates with you? And then looking at your specific ideal clients, describe the characteristics of who you're working with the most. What type of goals would they have? What challenges would they face? And Marcy, I think you should do this. I'm going to use the word should do this in the mindset of when you do the go out on your own, right? Your semi-retirement. Who are the people that you really want to work with? What are the things that you really want to look at doing in your business, not necessarily in the HR role?
Are these in the workbook? I don't see them. Are these in this?
Some of these are in the workbook and some of them are just in the chapter. You do have a personal coaching vision in the workbook. I don't know if it's the same questions.
So
Actually.
yeah, it's page 3. It's my vision, my career coach, my mission statement,
Yeah.
top goals, steps to achieve my goals.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, there's going to be some things that are exercises in
this.
here that are also in the workbook. Yeah. So, and some that are similar, but these are for reflection for you to kind of work off of anything that's in the workbook too. So this will help you with anything that's in the workbook, and it'll help you with going forward as well. Especially like this personal growth, identifying 2 areas in your life where you experience significant growth. How can these experiences enhance your coaching practice? And since you both have experience with coaching, you can use that in these examples as well. You don't turn these in. This is all for you that are in these books, right? And then some of them have, exercises that we'll do together as well. Okay. So questions about anything in this chapter?
No.
Nope. Feels very
we're gonna take a-
familiar.
Well, there's only so much you can change.
No,
when
it's
you're
kind of
doing-
nice. It's like, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see some new, new things when we talk about emotional intelligence. But this is all the, the foundational pieces in the first class anyway. And next class too, ethics. Although the ethics, I think were updated since you guys took them as well. Not too many changes there either, but some things to like little nuances to think about. And also, the therapy subject has gotten very much bigger and deeper. So you'll see that there's a lot of resources on referring out, and we're going to go over those in the next class in a lot of detail because they're very specific and they're very, the ICF is taking a really hard stance on it. So we're going to look
What
at
do you
that.
mean by that? Like
Like you'll see
explain-
there's
what do you
like, so
mean?
before people, a couple years ago, a few years ago, actually, um, you know, could kind of skirt around whether or not they should be referring them out to therapy,
Okay.
because of how comfortable they felt with the topic. That's just not doable anymore. You just can't
Yeah,
do that
yeah.
anymore. Yeah. And so, you'll see in the documents that they provide us, which you'll have in the downloads.
So how does that, because I've definitely gotten pushback, since I've started because my specialty is selective mutism and social anxiety, and but I'm not treating, I'm not diagnosing.
Yeah.
So
It depends, because then again, we'll go over it in the next class, but you have to
Yeah.
look at the levels and how deep these things are affecting other areas of their life and whether or not they need a therapist. And that's
Right.
what we're going to talk through. We're going to talk through how do I find out, you know, on because the anxiety. So some people work with people with anxiety, like you said, social anxiety. Does everybody that has anxiety need a therapist? Probably not.
No.
But also, are we in a position to be the person that decides if they need a therapist or not? So that's where you have to go deep into it.
Well,
Like,
yeah, but if you're saying, look, I don't treat or diagnose, but I can coach you through this, and that's their choice.
right.
Right.
But then have they taken the step to go see if it's something that they need help with by looking at
Here's
having a
the thing.
consult?
Here's the thing is one of my clients has gone to the best of the best in New York 3 years in a row and got more momentum and now is on the other side of it with me.
Oh, I'm not saying that that's not
Because
possible.
it's just because it's not saying that I'm better than them or more educated. It's just I have the time, I have the compassion, I know what it feels like. It's a different scenario. Like if
Yeah,
I'm
and each person is different anyway, and
yeah,
who they can connect with. And anyway, we'll go into it. We'll go into that next class because
yeah.
it's deep topic. But right now we're going to take a break. It's 8:32. We're going to take till 8:45.
Okay.
So just you can turn your cameras off, but stay in the room, and we'll get started right at 8:45. Thanks. Okay. So we're gonna look at the ACC minimum skill requirements and then the PCC markers. And this way you can kind of see what we're going to be focusing in on. So first, let me describe the difference. So the ACC minimum skill requirements is just basically what you need to have showcasing in your coaching, the minimum for an ACC credential. The PCC markers is the minimum that you have to show in order to coach, to be a PCC credential, coaching at that level. And then they have the MCC minimum skill requirements as well. So again, the minimum that you need to showcase in order to be a master coach. So in this course, we are actually focused in on the PCC markers, which I kind of mentioned earlier. And I'm going to be able to show you that when we look at the scoring sheet, the observation form. You guys are actually going to be filling out observation forms as well. That's why there's a blank one for you to download in the drive. Especially when we listen to the recordings together, you'll fill out one. And then when we go over it, you'll see how I scored it. And you kind of see what you've picked up and what you haven't picked up. I'll assign you competencies to look at too. And you'll see on that form that we are looking for those PCC markers. Now, how do I tell at the end whether or not you pass at an ACC level? Is that if you're showing specific things that I've outlined on that form for the PCC, then I know you're showing it at an ACC level. And I kind of explained why I do that. We're, getting you ready for that next step. And to me, there's no sense in teaching one way and then you having to learn another way, which you're already getting that anyway, but have a second way and then learn it a third way. So you're just kind of going to be ready for that next step when you're ready to go for a PCC. You'll be ready for that level 2 program and you'll have a better understanding of it going into it. So let's look at the ACC minimum skill requirements. And then I'm going to kind of put side by side the PCC markers and you can kind of see the difference. And then what we're looking at in the course. So this is the minimum skill requirements for the ACC. Now I'm not going to read through all this, but basically, if we look at each competency on your recordings, which is where these minimum skill requirements, PCC markers, where everything falls under, they're looking for specific things. So in the recording, they're not really, or we're not really looking at ethical practice, except for that you're not violating anything, blatantly from the ICF Code of Ethics. So you're not directing the client, you're not being insulting, you're not just being unethical. Otherwise, there's nothing specific that they're looking for competency 1. For 2, same thing. They're not really looking at anything specific. There's no behavior or skill statements that they're looking for, but it does show up in other competencies. So those things still have to kind of gel, but they're not really looking for anything there. Where it starts is 3. So this is when you download this, you'll see this is the competency. And then underneath the competency, it has the key skills evaluated. So this is what they're looking for. The clarity and depth in creating an agreement for the session, the ability to partner and the depth of partnering with the client in the creation of the agreement, measures of success and issues to be addressed, and the coach's ability to attend to that client's agenda throughout the session. So how do they see if those key skills are evaluated, or how do they evaluate if those key skills are present? They look for that you invite the client to identify their coaching outcome, that you reach an agreement on what the client wants to accomplish, that you're curious about the client and how the client relates to what they want to accomplish, and that you attend to that agenda throughout the session. unless the client decides not to. For 4, cultivates trust and safety. Again, that's the competency. And then if we look at the key skills, the coach's depth of connection to and support of the client, your demonstration of trust in and respect for the client and the client's process of thinking and creating, the willingness to be open, authentic, and vulnerable with the client to build mutual trust. So how do they evaluate those? They're looking that you acknowledge the client's insight and learning in the moment. And that's why I kind of mentioned, halfway through the session, check in with the client, what have you learned so far, towards the situation, or measure where you are, how far or how close are we towards the outcome that you were looking for. And then towards the end saying, what have you learned about yourself today? What have you learned about this situation? Those are kind of the questions that you can put in to help the client start gauging things. Exploring their expressions of feelings, perception, concerns, beliefs, or suggestions. And you're supporting and showing concern for the client, which may focus on their context, problem, or situation rather than holistically. 5, again, the competency. And then they're looking at the depth of focus on and partnership with the client, the depth of observation and use of the whole of the client in the coaching process, and your ability to create space for reflection and remain present to the client, both in conversation, but also silence. So they're looking that you're curious throughout the session in order to showcase those key skills, that you're acknowledging the situation the client presents, that you're allowing the client to direct the conversation. 6, listens actively, the coach's depth of attention to what the client communicates in relation to the client and the client's agenda. Your ability to hear on multiple levels, including both the emotional and substantive content of the words. Your ability to hear underlying beliefs, thinking, creating, and learning that are occurring for the client, including recognizing incongruencies in language, emotions, and actions. And your ability to hear and integrate the client's language and to invite the client to deeper exploration. So specifically that you're using summarizing or paraphrasing to make sure that you understood what the client said, so you understand it correctly, that you're making observations that support the client in creating new associations, that you're co-creating a shared vision. Evoking awareness. Key skills are your use of, excuse me, inquiry, exploration, silence, and other techniques that support the client in achieving new or deeper learning and awareness. Your ability to explore with and evoke exploration by the client of the emotional and substantive meaning of the client's words. Your ability to explore with and evoke exploration by the client of the underlying beliefs and means of thinking, creating, and learning that are occurring for the client. Your ability to support the client in exploring new or expanded perspectives or ways of thinking. Your invitation to and integration of the client's intuition, thinking, and language as critical tools in the coaching process. So how do they evaluate that? That you're acknowledging the client's new awareness, learning, and movement toward the desired outcome, that you support the client in viewing the situation from new or different perspectives, that you inquire about or explore the client's ideas, beliefs, thinking, emotions, and behaviors in relation to the desired outcome. For 8, facilitates client growth. They're looking at your ability to support the client in exploring their learning about themselves and the situation and the application of that learning towards their goals. Your ability to partner fully with the client in designing actions from their new awareness, which may include thinking, feeling, or learning that support the client in moving toward their stated agenda or goals. Your ability to support the client in developing measurable achievements that are steps towards the client's stated goals or outcomes. Your ability to partner with the client to explore and acknowledge the client's progress throughout the session, and the depth of partnership in closing the session. So specifically, you're partnering with the client to create and confirm specific action plans. You're asking questions to support the client in translating awareness into action, and you're supporting the client to close the session. And those are the things that we need to be doing at an ACC level. Now, if we look at a PCC level, All right, so here are the PCC markers. These were revised. So the PCC markers are just a list of actions, I guess is the word, that you take, right? I'm just scrolling down here to show you. Each one has its own list of actions that they want to see coaches taking. So I'm going to quickly read through these, and then I'm going to show you the form. So it's the same thing here with 1 and 2, not specifically assessed except 2. It shows up in these other markers. So again, they're looking for kind of the combination. So competency 3 for establishing and maintains agreements. The coach partners with the client to identify or reconfirm what the client wants to accomplish. The coach partners with the client to define or reconfirm measures of success for what the client wants to accomplish. The coach inquires about or explores what is important or meaningful to the client about what they want to accomplish. The coach partners with the client to define what the client believes they need to address to achieve what they accomplish in the session. 4, coach acknowledges and respects the client's unique talents, insight, and work in the coaching process. Coach shows support, empathy, or concern for the client. Coach acknowledges and supports the client's expressions of feeling, perceptions, concerns, beliefs, or suggestions. The coach partners with the client by inviting the client to respond in any way to the coach's contribution and accept the client's response. Maintains presence. The coach acts in response to the whole person of the client, so the who, and acts in response to the client, to what the client wants to accomplish throughout the session, so the what. Coach partners with the client by supporting the client to choose what happens in this session. Remember, one of the questions I have in the framework is, where would you like to start? That's giving them the power to choose what happens in the session. Another way is, where would you like to go from here? Later on in the session, where you've kind of covered maybe some main things towards their outcome, and there's some like little things that need to probably be addressed, but we're not sure where to go with that. Where would you like to go from here? What's the next area that you want to cover? Allowing the client to show that leading, that direction they want to go in. Demonstrates curiosity to learn more about the client, allows for silence, pause, and reflection. And then 6 for active listening, or listens actively. Questions and observations are customized by using what the coach has learned about the client and their situation. The coach inquires about or explores the words the client uses. The coach inquires about or explores the client's emotions. Coach explores the client's energy shifts, nonverbal cues, or other behaviors. Coach inquires about or explores how the client currently perceives themselves or the world. The coach allows the client to complete speaking without interrupting unless there is a stated coaching purpose to do so, which, by the way, you can interrupt a client if they are going off topic, or if they are storytelling. We're going to talk about that. There's a way to do that. Coach succinctly reflects or summarizes what the client communicated to ensure the client's clarity and understanding. 7, evokes awareness. The coach asks questions about the client, such as their current way of thinking, feeling, values, needs, wants, beliefs, or behavior. Asks questions to help the client explore beyond their current thinking or feeling to new or expanded ways of thinking or feeling about themselves, so things that address the who. Asks questions to help the client explore beyond their current way of thinking or feeling to new or expanded ways of thinking or feeling about the situation, so the what. Ask questions to help the client explore beyond their current thinking, feeling, or behaving toward the outcome that they desire. The coach shares with no attachment observations, intuitions, comments, thoughts, or feelings, and invites the client's exploration through verbal or tonal invitation. Coach asks clear, direct, primarily open-ended questions one at a time at a pace that allows for thinking, feeling, or reflection by the client. Coach uses language that is generally clear and concise. Coach allows the client to do most of the talking. 8, facilitates client growth. The coach invites or allows the client to explore progress towards what the client wanted to accomplish in the session. The coach invites the client to state or explore the client's learning in the session about themselves, the who. Invites the client to state or explore their learning in the session about their situation, the what. invites the client to consider how they will use the new learning from this coaching session, partners with the client to design post-session thinking, reflection, or action, partners with the client to consider how to move forward, including resources, support, or potential barriers, partners with the client to design the best methods of accountability for themselves, coaches celebrate the client's progress and learning, and coach partners with the client on how they want to complete the session. So for me, this is a much clearer way to make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing in a coaching session. It's very clear, it's very specific. And so this is how we are really going to look at coaching in this course. And I'm going to show you the where's the form? The form that we're going to use. Oh, it's going out. I don't want to fill it out. Okay. So so this is the observation form, and the final is something similar. It's just scored, but basically it looks at, okay, here's your competency 3 and these are the markers. They're just listed straight down, the markers for each one, and all the way through to 8. And so each chapter that we cover how to do how to do each of these competencies, these PCC markers as well. And then when we observe sessions, we're looking at, have you done this? Have you partnered with the client to identify or confirm what the client wants to accomplish in the session? Yes, somewhat, no. Any evidence or comments? And so this is what we look at when we're observing the recordings and when you guys are coaching. This is how we're evaluating it. This is how we're making progress in the coaching. Again, you'll fill out these as well. You'll be assigned a competency during the class that's usually connected with that particular material that we're covering. So if we're covering around, something around trust and safety, then typically I'll have you focus in on that competency 4 when you're listening to the coaching session. And where I might give some broader feedback, you'll give feedback on that specific competency. And again, this is going to just help you get really good at recognizing the markers and, what's happening in the coaching sessions and what particularly is not happening in the coaching sessions that maybe should be. So questions about the markers or this feedback form or the minimum skill requirements?
Nope.
All right. Questions about anything that we've talked about today?
No.
Right. So we're going to look at the assignment workbook and go through that and the checklist.
This is why we selected you, because we never have questions, because it's always very clear.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I say that kind of in a schmoozy way, but I really mean it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. That's how I hope to be. So validating. Thank you. Okay. So your cohort is 5 and your start date is January 27th. And here's your personal coaching vision. So each class has a corresponding assignment. I'm just gonna, you know, we'll tell you which each one is in the class. By the way, you'll have other instructors that are gonna come in. I don't know if I told you that yet, but you'll have some other instructors that come in. I don't know if you probably don't know them, but Lori Marini and Holly Davis. And so when I say we, that's who I'm talking about. So for this first class is your vision for your coaching career, your mission statement based on your vision, the top goals from your vision, and your steps to achieving your goals. These can be just very simple. You don't have to take a whole long time, but they are good. You know, there are good things for you to explore. A lot of them are journal prompts. So this is like, you know, we're going to talk about bias and ethics and all that in the next class. So reflect on the bias that you're aware of, you know, how we overcome it. I'm going to send you an invitation for the EQI 2.0 assessment. You'll log into the link that you're sent. It comes from the system. So it comes from MHS talent system. And you'll just go in. I think it makes you create a password. And then you'll take the assessment. It takes about, it can take as quick as 20 minutes, but I usually say go through it once and then go back and go through it again before you submit. So a good 30 minutes. You want to be somewhere where there's no distractions, no noise, just so you can kind of take your time in going through it. This is nothing like that other thing that you took, by the way, if you're even thinking about that other assessment that you took for emotional intelligence in the WCI course. This is nothing like that.
That one
this-
was wild.
It
Mine,
was so weird.
the system was weird, and it started to flash at me one point, and then it started to skip questions, and I called them. Yeah, and they weren't very helpful. So they
Yeah,
gave me
that's a-
numbers, but I'm not even sure it was legit.
Yeah, it's queendom.com and it's just a weird website. And but that assessment is weird too. Like some of the questions it asked, we were like, but it was free.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't want students to have to pay for anything. This is not free. I pay for this. I pay for every person that takes the assessment and I pay for my own to be able to give the assessment. So it's all paid. It's all very professional and it's, you know, there's two main EQ assessments. This is one of them. And the other one's called 6 seconds, but I think you'll like it. Most people do. And then once you're done it notifies me and then I have to generate the reports and then you'll get the report sent to you. And we'll talk about it, you know, throughout the course just a little bit. But we have that one-on-one where we debrief the report and then we create an action plan to increase, you know, anything that's showing as needing, you know, increasement. And I do say, give yourself 40 minutes. You're going to have some templates here. You're going to fill them out again, best of your ability to what you think it will be if you don't already have a current business. If you already have a contract, you could potentially just send me that one. These are good templates if you want to, you know, definitely take a look at them. I created this client onboarding manual. I think you'll like that. It's actually what I use to onboard clients now to take them through that process. It works really well. And then, you know, just some questions to answer based on your report. So you get your report back before you do this based on your outcomes. And then you identify areas of improvement. So you'll look at your report and you'll figure this out. You'll create an action plan, but when we debrief, we'll go over an action plan as well. You could leave this blank until after our action plan and then come back and do it. Just copy and paste it in here. That's fine as well. Because this doesn't get turned in until after we have our debrief. Because you turn it in at the one-on-one session. The relationship trust, very simple. You answer these questions. And then ingrained thought pattern activity. It's a good activity to kind of look at ingrained patterns that we might have, belief systems about ourselves. And then this is just kind of a reflection practice exercise. This will make more sense once we go over the chapter. You do take the Johari test. That's how you have to send it separate. You can't copy and paste it for whatever reason. They don't like to do that. So they give you a PDF and you'll just send the PDF in with this. And then you have a goal setting. We use SMART goals. And for your coaching career. And then the wheel of life exercise. This is just a pretty cool little, I think a lot of people have taken this in one way, shape, or form at a time, but this is at some time, but this is a good work sheet for you. And then your vision and values. So we look at creating a vision for 1 year from now. What are the top 10 values from that vision that you want? And what's one boundary for each value to make sure that they're protected? And then preparing for your first or next client. We talk about different modalities in this class associated with this, so you'll answer these questions based off that information. And then the final evaluation again is you're going to get sent out to do your recordings. You'll upload the final recording. With this form, you'll just click here and you'll fill out everything on here. And then if you want us to transcribe it, it's $25 for a 30-minute session. And if you want us to do it, you'll just put paid in that on that form, and then you'll just click here to pay the $25. Otherwise, you can use like transcribeme.com, rev.com. You can use AI if you want, but you have to go through it afterwards because it's not always accurate. And it has to be time-stamped. It has to be show the coach and the coachees on separate lines, and it has to be verbatim. And then this is the required reading is the transformational coach. And then each chapter asks you these 3 questions. What have you learned? What will you experiment with in your coaching? How do you hope, or what do you hope will be different as a result of those experiments? These are just 1-sentence answers. You don't have to get really involved, but I think you're going to like those chapters. So you might get a little bit involved. So yeah, answer those 3 questions for each chapter. And then this is your peer coaching log. Each session is an hour. You coach for 30 minutes. Just switch and your partner coaches for 30 minutes. If you have any problems connecting with each other or the people that we bring in that you'll have available to you as well, just let me know. You just need to put who the person was and the date that you completed the session, and you have to do 7 sessions. Then you sign it, send everything to assignments@scacoachingacademy.com. Any questions about this?
No.
And then there is also a cute little checklist. Show you that real quick. It just has all the assignments. You can print this out, check them off when you're done. Helps you keep organized. All right. So that is basically all the things that we were going to cover today. So I'd like to kind of get your it was a lot of information, I know, but get a feel for what your thoughts are on what we've covered tonight, and again, any questions that you might have. So Marcy, why don't you go first?
No, I mean, I think it's kind of what I expected. I love the outline, things to check off, so, and I already ordered my book.
Oh, awesome. I think you're going to like it. I read through mine first, and then I went back with a highlighter and downloading those that chart that the actual author gives us was pretty cool too, and I printed that off like that too. Okay, and then you don't have any questions.
No, the only thing is just so, I know it doesn't help overall, but I'm not working on Wednesday, so I could meet Wednesday afternoon if that works better, just this one time.
Oh,
But
I'm
that's
not-
kind of close in, I know, for folks.
Um, let's see. It would be tough for me for this Wednesday. I could do like like a earlier and then like 5,
Yeah,
either 5 or 6 o'clock. I don't know. Would that be work for you, Avery?
Don't know, this Wednesday at
Mhm.
5 or 6? Mm, I can do either 5 or 6 on this Wednesday.
Which would you prefer? Which would you prefer, Marcy, as well?
I'm, I'm good with whatever.
Well, I mean, if we did, well, let's do 6 so we can eat dinner or whatever.
Okay.
And then so we'll go 6 to 8:30 instead of 7 to 9:30.
Okay.
Is that good? Okay,
Works
so
for me.
mark your calendars, 6 o'clock on Wednesday at 6 ET Eastern. What time zone are you, Marcy?
Eastern.
Oh, you are. Okay. Okay,
Are you
good. Yeah,
both in
so
Ohio?
no, I'm in Delaware. Not far from her though.
Where are you in Ohio?
Columbus.
I'm a Bobcat.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay. Uh so Avery, for you, any questions or what are your thoughts on what we covered tonight?
No, I don't have any questions. Just really getting a deeper understanding of everything that we covered. So no
Okay.
question.
All right. Well, I think so for Wednesday you want to read chapter 2, have your code of ethics. Again, I can share my screen very easily, so I just want to make sure you download them. You don't actually have to
Read chapter 2 in the book
bring
that
them.
we buy. Is that
No, chapter 2, the chapter 2 for the course
okay?
in UpCoach. If you go to UpCoach, go to the next. Here, I'll
Okay.
show it to you.
I don't need you to show. I'll find it if it's in that
Okay.
thing.
Yeah, it's in there. You just hit the next. If
Okay.
you're in the chapter 1, hit or class. If you're in class 1, hit next. It'll take you to class 2, and that's chapter 2.
Okay.
So you'll need that. You'll need the yeah, my brain just went blank. You'll need chapter 2. Oh, you'll need your the ethics, and then there are some forms under the drive, all having to do with referring out therapy. There's 3 of them. So you can grab those as well, but again, I can share my screen and go over them, but make sure you have them downloaded. And that's about it. So I'm not gonna keep you here and try to talk for 10 minutes. So we're good. If you need anything in the meantime, just, either message me. I think you both message me on Facebook usually. You can do that. You can also email me, of course. Otherwise, I will see you back here Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Okay.
And have a wonderful rest of your night and Tuesday. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.